Sunday's supposed to be a day of rest, and for so many of us, we're just crazy busy all the time, and it's good just to arrive here, fully, to be here fully. To come into just the quietness, the intimacy of a Sunday evening. Just feeling your body, experiencing your body, giving yourself full permission just to stop everything, to arrive. And what does that mean, to stop everything? It means we're giving ourselves permission to stop all the thinking and the chasing and the doing, and just to relax the body and deeply receive. Just feel what's here. Experience what's here. Even if you feel uncomfortable, I encourage you just to, to slow down even more so. To notice that there's a consciousness here that feels the discomfort, that feels the unease. And can you allow that consciousness to turn upon itself and to see that there's something good here, something radiant and alive, gentle and tender. We're just giving ourselves permission to be radically intimate with ourselves. How am I doing truly? So many people are constantly distracting themselves, and they don't even know how they feel in their heart. But if you're a spiritual being, I encourage you to stop, to face your life right now, to feel into your heart, to notice, what is your heart like? What is the gentleness and the goodness of your heart like? As you simply breathe in and breathe out. And allowing the belly to deeply relax, the pelvis to relax, the shoulders and the jaw to relax. We are arriving here in this space. And so again, it's good to be here with you all. Let's see here, just a couple announcements. I have a retreat that's coming up on July 18th through the 21st. It's a Thursday through a Sunday here in Durango, Colorado. And there's details on my website about that. Also, a big thank you to those who offered donations and supported this satsang. Thank you to Myrna and Adi and Marianne and Brett and all the others who donated. And again, if you want to support the Sangha, you can make a donation at craigholiday.com. So thank you for those. This on Thursday, I went down to Santa Fe with my family, and I saw Amma. And of course, anytime you see Amma, it's like seeing God. She is such an incredible force of love, of compassion. It's ridiculously amazing the amount of humanitarian work that she does for the planet, for all those suffering. across the board, from hospitals to orphanages to, to providing millions of meals, rebuilding homes, and environmental work, and hygiene initiatives in Africa and India. It's just amazing what one woman can do. And she was born into this world, and I'm not even certain that she can even really read. She was illiterate most of her life and uneducated, but just, such a force of light, such a force of love. Somehow she's learned to speak, a couple different languages and become, probably the greatest miracle worker on planet Earth. And so anyways, I was down there, and I just wanted to pay my respects and see a bunch of friends. And I took my wife and my 5-year-old, and we just had a really nice time. Just walking around. And my good friend Chad, I met him down there, and he said, "Gosh, Craig, when you come on retreat with Amma, it just feels like you're drunk. Like you're drunk on light and bliss. It just feels so good." She's such an extraordinary presence. And I was thinking for a moment, because as I looked out into the crowd, there was, thousands and thousands of people there. I saw that that many years ago, when I was quite young, I was 19 or 20, my teacher, David, he said, "Oh, you should go see Amma. You would like that." And so I went down a couple of years, and, then I told a friend or two, about, the incredible work that she's doing and what an amazing saint that she is. And I live in this little mountain town, and, had been hanging out with just a bunch of hippies, and, at that time. And I saw that the people who I told, 15, 18 years ago, that they should come down, I just told a couple friends, and they came, and they brought some friends, and I saw that there was, a good 15 people or so, maybe 20, that had been coming down for years, just through, opening my mouth and sharing the good news. And so when you see something good in the world, share it. Share it. You don't have to be on a soapbox proselytizing and being silly, or pushy. But I encourage you to share it. Our news is just filled with such pain, such agony. This morning I actually found myself in tears because, I just saw something on the news about in Phoenix, Arizona, a couple police officers surrounded a car, and in the car was a family, and the little girl had stolen a Barbie. That's what the story was. And they had their guns drawn and were screaming at the family, telling them they were going to shoot them. And it's just horrible. And I just broke into tears because, I just couldn't imagine just being in that hell. Being both, policemen in that hell of just utter racism and violence and adrenaline and so much stress that I feel like I need to pull out my gun on a family. And it was a couple of them. I just broke down in tears of the utter pain of it. And the fear of the family, afraid for their life that they were going to be shot. And I mean, it was just heart-wrenching to watch this, that that there is so much pain and suffering in the world, and it's nice to share something good. To share something good, to share the goodness and the love. And so when you see something like a good Dharma talk, or a spiritual teacher, or a beautiful hike, or whatever it is. Share it with the world, because you will change lives. When I look back to the individuals who I told about 18 or however long it was, 20 years ago, it changed their life just through sharing something good. The ego wants to share something bad. It wants to share drama and pain and suffering. But I encourage you, share your heart with the world. Share the truth. Share the goodness. This individual, this young man, he emailed me a little bit ago, and he during our first meeting, it came out that that he was gay, but that he hadn't really come out of the closet yet. And so I encouraged him, come out of the closet, share your truth, share your heart with the world, be yourself fully. And he wrote me this email saying, I was living in denial, and that denial led to a lot of anger. And then at some point, I just decided just to come out in every direction. And it takes courage to come out. It takes courage to share the good news. It takes courage to shine your heart in a world of darkness. It takes courage. But this is what we must do. This is how we face life. And we bring love forward is through shining. Not through hiding, but through shining. So many of us, we deny what's, that which is good within us. But life is too short for us to deny. For so many of us, we have tough lives, and when we have a difficult life, it's easy to do, to just be egoic. But a great question is can we do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening, with the wrong series of events? Can we be more fully patient, be more fully kind, more fully loving when things are difficult, when things are painful? When things are painful. Right now, in Colorado, we're having some very funny weather. Yesterday was so cold. I think it snowed at my house. I was trying to install some windows, and it started raining, and then the rain turned to hail, and then I went and looked at my car window, and it was covered in snow, which is a little silly. And the window froze at night, and we had frost last night. It's June 23rd, and we're having frost. Today I woke up and have really bad allergies. My eyes are burning. I feel really groggy. My wife too. And it's easy to be irritated in this world. It's easy to get overwhelmed by life. It's easy to have a good excuse, to lose your temper and to be mean or angry or violent. There's police officers who were pulling their guns out on a family. I'm sure part of their work is very dangerous. I'm sure it is. To be a police officer in Phoenix must be incredibly dangerous. With gangs and crime and domestic violence and drug dealers and all this type of stuff, I'm sure. But it's no excuse, to then just project this eternally onto life, to project it onto a young family who took something from the store that didn't belong to them. We have to put our egos in check, but we put ourselves in check with love, with a gentle discipline and love. And so a great question for ourselves is, can I do the right thing when the wrong thing is happening? Can I be kinder? How can I be kinder in my daily life? How can I be more awake, more alive, more loving, more compassionate? First and foremost to myself, and then to others. There's this funny thing that happens when you're deeply loving to yourself. It becomes easy to be loving to others. But if you ignore yourself or attack yourself or judge yourself or think you're less than, then it takes great effort to be kind to others. And so if we're having a hard time in this world, can we have faith? Can we trust in something higher when we're out in the wilderness? When we are in a dark place and we don't understand God's intelligence, God's way, God's wisdom, God's plan for us, can we have faith? So facing life with love means we have faith. We have faith in something higher than our own egos. And as we do this, we develop a backbone of steel. A backbone of steel. If we aren't able to have faith, in times of darkness, well, we have a backbone that's like a wet noodle. And we're just like a ping pong ball. We just kind of bounce back and forth, dependent upon the environmental circumstances. And so, it's so good to be here with you all. So I'm going to look at the questions here. It's nice to see you all. Ivy and Thane and Adrian and Kathy and Jen and Ruth and Suzanne and Andrew and then Shauna and Tree and Marianne and oh no, this name looks like Sedma. Oh hey Chris and Taylor, Apple, Amy, Denny. Just want to say hi to everyone. Jay and Pete, Imani, Suzanne, Justina. Yeah, it's so good. So good to see you all here. So I have a couple questions. Let's just see what pops up first here. Hi, Craig. So good to see you. This is a question from, it looks like Jen. What are you, a priest or something? Please, no hurt feelings. I'm just curious. Jen, I always wanted to be a priest. I always thought of myself as a priest or a monk. And no, I'm just a spiritual guy, a spiritual teacher, a counselor. If you don't know anything about me, it's good to see you, Jen. It's good to see you. In this moment, I just feel like this presence of innocence. And so sometimes when we have a job, we identify with that job and latch on to its label. We might be an iron worker and latch on to that label. I'm an iron worker, and that means whatever that means, that I'm a big, tough guy. But there's an iron worker in the audience right now, and he has a heart that is so sweet, so innocent, so loving. And so what is he? His name's Adrian, by the way, but what is Adrian? He's God. He's divine. He's a holy man. And that's what I like to think of myself as too, as a holy man. But also, some of the times I'm just a kid or a clown or a joker, and, a fool. But I like to identify with being a holy man, being something greater than ordinary. And I don't mean greater than others. I mean greater than my ordinary human egoic self, because, if I'm just my egoic self, with all this pollen in the air, I could just be in I could just be really irritated right now. And I was tearing out, I live in an older house. I had to tear out my old inefficient windows that, I had broken windows. The glass had broken because they were so old, and I'm installing new ones. And when you ever do a remodel, you're doing heavy lifting and you're cutting sheetrock, and there's sawdust and sheetrock dust in the air. It feels very aggressive on the body, very irritating. And so I could be someone who's just really irritated right now. From this hard working conditions, like if you work in a coal mine, your body feels stimulated in a way that doesn't feel good. And so, where are we identifying here on planet Earth? Are we identifying with an irritated egoic nature, a wounded egoic nature, a hurt egoic nature? Or are we identifying with our highest? With our highest? Yeah. So Andrew writes, Craig, specifically, what do you recommend to cultivate self-compassion? Andrew, one of the most helpful things that I think an individual can do is literally to lay down, like in corpse pose, or lay down in your bed and place one hand on your heart, one hand on your belly, or both hands on your heart, and feel the warmth and the aliveness, the goodness of your being. Feel the warmth, the aliveness, the goodness of your being. Notice your heart lighting up. And be courageous enough to feel what's within you, Andrew. When I saw this video today of the policemen pulling their firearms out on this family, I just burst into tears. Compassion means to understand, to see fully, to experience, to feel. And so we must be willing to feel. I could have went into my head and said, boy, that was really stupid what they did, or that was wrong, or how racist of them. I could have stayed in a judgmental place. But compassion means to feel, to experience. And compassion should bring you to tears. It should make your body shake and tremble. I say this often, but I like it because the Dalai Lama said it. He's a pretty wise being. He said, I laugh and cry in equal amounts each day. I laugh and cry in equal amounts each day. He feels. This is what it means to be compassionate. It means we are courageous enough to feel what's within us, what's happening around us. And I just felt this great sadness, both for the family and the police officer. Because, racism, it's an affliction. To be that amped up and be pulling your gun out on a family, you have to be deeply afflicted. And the real criminal here wasn't the 5-year-old who stole the Barbie doll. The one who's deeply afflicted, who's deeply suffering, is the police officers. There's multiple officers just screaming at the family. So we have compassion for them. We have love for them. Part of the love may be them losing their job. That's a good thing. I hope so, because, when we lose our job, it gives us time to stop and think. Maybe we're angry at first, but maybe after the anger has moved through our body, we actually deeply reflect. And so compassion means to deeply reflect as well, Andrew. To deeply reflect upon how we're feeling, upon what we're experiencing. Like what's actually happening. within me. I've come into a strange state of consciousness where I'm finding it very difficult to want anything, to desire anything. My mind's going blank. My heart feels satisfied and at peace. And, my friend Chad and I, we were down in Santa Fe, and it was after we saw Alma, and we had our families, and we were just sitting in the park, and the kids were playing, and it was really sweet. And we were in the downtown plaza in Santa Fe, park that's been there for, imagine, a couple 100 years, at least 100 years. And the kids were playing, but all the tourists around us, like they were carrying shopping bags and going shopping. There's all kinds of stores around the plaza. And we thought for a moment, should we go look around? And then, Chad said to me, well, there's nothing really we need. And I was like, yeah, there's not. We don't need just to go looking for something we don't need. We can just rest here. We just rested. We just hung out at the park all day, doing nothing. It was beautiful. It was wonderful. And so another form of compassion is giving yourself the gift of doing nothing. Doing nothing. We live in a very productive culture, and where we're always building, creating, changing, growing. And sometimes it's nice just to take a break from it all. I live in this town where everyone is so focused on physical fitness and achieving this or that, or breaking this record or that record. And it's nice just to have Sunday and do nothing. Do nothing. Give yourself permission to stop fully. Come into a place of peace and to see what's actually true, what's actually real, what needs some more love within me. And so, Andrew, going back to that of, how are we how do we cultivate self-compassion? It's waking up to your heart, feeling the radiance, the goodness of your heart, then asking your heart, is there anything here that I'm ignoring, that I'm denying? Is there anything here that wants to be loved, wants to be held? And to breathe deeply and fully into whatever pain is in the body. Sometimes self-compassion means breathing into pain. Other times it means waking up and realizing, oh, I'm not inhabiting my heart. I'm not inhabiting my belly. I'm not inhabiting the 7 chakra centers, the fullness of my being. So many of us, we've trained ourselves to just live in our mind. We create a hell realm for ourselves when we do this. And it can be very compassionate to get to know yourself in all 7 chakras. How do you experience yourself in the pelvis, in the belly, the solar plexus, the heart, the throat chakra, space of the mind, the crown? Are all 7 chakras centers open? In Tibetan Buddhism, they talk about the 10,000 nadis, which are like miniature chakras. Are all 10,000 nadis open? And are we living there? Are we embodying there? There's this really incredible science that's starting to come out, and it's speaking about, I think I've spoke about this before a little bit, but about these different minds in the body, and the mind that's in the gut, like literally the gut, that you can take different probiotics and it can change your mood. Like if someone has deep depression, they take probiotics and their belly starts to heal, the depression lifts. They even did some kind of crazy experiment where they found, if they fed mice, a certain enzyme, that all of a sudden they lose all fear and they're no longer afraid of cats, which of course can be quite deadly, but there's literally different minds in our body. And so many of us, we just live up here in our head. And I tell you, if you limit yourself just to your thinking mind, that's what the Buddha called hell. That's what the Buddha called hell. If I ever notice myself greatly limited and just stuck in my head, that's hell for me. It's hell. And so I encourage you to open fully, experience yourself fully. This is to be self-compassionate. And one last thing I'll say is sometimes it's just nice just to have a gentle mantra. I used to just go on long walks and I would just breathe in, I love you, and breathe out, and it's okay. I love you, and it's okay. I love you, and it's okay. And what I noticed is my whole nervous system would calm down. And after it calmed down, it would start to feel really alive and blissful and loving. Sometimes I'd break down in tears, releasing old pain from the past. And sometimes it was pain I didn't even know what it was about. So many of us, we hold our bodies tight and tense in a way that's unnecessary, just habitual. We start to break down those old habits through self-compassion. It's a beautiful question, Andrew. Thank you so much for that. Okay, here's a question. I hope I don't pronounce your name wrong, but it's from, looks like Jenya. I have a question. I've been getting lots of energetic attacks for the past 5 years. It's halted life for some time. Much of it has come through male healers I've seen and become attached to and disempowered myself with. I know everything in my realm is me and my consciousness, yet I still haven't got to what it is within, which is at the core of this. Yeah, I'm not sure I fully understand your question, but I'm going to take a stab at it here. So if you're feeling energetic attacks from others, oftentimes that can be from being too open, too empathetic to others. Now, if you're speaking about getting attacks from healers, that sounds a little bit nutty to me. Healers are supposed to be helpful. They're supposed to be loving and kind. So again, maybe I'm not fully understanding your question. So why don't you type a little more for me, and I'll see if I can figure this out together. But when we're too open, sometimes it can feel like we're being attacked by life. And so there's, the teaching is, two different things. One, I'm going to encourage you to develop a stronger backbone. And again, that can happen through that prayer I was just speaking about. I love you and it's okay. I love you and it's okay. When we were kids, our parents used to teach us this thing, sticks and stones may, break my bones, but names will never hurt me. Energy doesn't hurt us either. Negative energy. It can hurt our ego and, our surface level consciousness, but the depth of our being, it cannot hurt us. So if someone is very mean or angry toward you, or if they're sending you psychic daggers or whatever it is, I encourage you to come into your core, to your strength, and just notice that there's something here that's pure, that's untouched, that's strong, that's awake, that's alive, that can't be harmed. So first and foremost, and do this, and then of course, if you're around someone who's not helpful and they come under the guise as a healer, well then move on, set some boundaries, create some space between you and them. But once you have space, I wouldn't think too much about it, about being energetically attacked. I encourage you just to feel your strength, to be rooted in your strength. And again, whether it's angry words or just energy, stay with your truth. And this requires that we're taking deep, full belly breaths, feeling our core, feeling our quiet strength, and just saying, I know that who and what I am is good. And this other person who's attacking me, they're confused. They're confused. And so walk in the other direction if you can. Okay. Oh, yes. Sejanya is saying it's from a shaman who really wasn't a shaman. And so the big thing is maybe to draw your energy in a little bit. And if we're too apathetic, one of the things you can do is just kind of put an energetic orb around you and just visualize yourself, just being held in light, held in light, held in the grace of God, protected by God. That your heart can shine out in every direction. So it's not something where you feel tight and tense and you get neurotically nervous, like some people do, especially some new age people. But just imagine yourself, Jenny, just being surrounded by light, held in God's grace, healed and protected from life. And I encourage everyone to do this who feels like, they're in the dark night of the soul, or, walking through the valley of the shadow of death. I will fear no evil, because I have you, Lord. Because I have you, Lord. And so we're opening and giving ourselves permission to be held, to be loved. Too often people on the spiritual path forget that there's a God who can love you, hold you, protect you, who can give you the strength to walk through hell in the direction of heaven. And so, yes. Here's a question from Jem in Turkey. Hi, Jem. Hello, Craig. Recently, I've made some discoveries about myself, which I don't want to get too much into detail about specifically, but growing up as a kid, I made a mistake, resulted in me feeling shameful and guilty for many years. I've developed complex trauma because of it. I got bullied at school because of it. Every day I was in school, I felt like I wasn't safe and not worthy enough. I was always on edge. I created a distorted image of myself in my head because I believed what those bullies were saying to me. Still to this day, I get deeply affected by this. Can I heal from this? What's the first step I should take? Yeah, Jem, of course you can heal from this, my friend. You have a heart of gold. Of course you can heal. And you're incredibly strong too, Jem. So the way we heal from a negative self-image and complex trauma is through self-love. It very much has to do with the work you and I done together, but a lot of it has to do with you seeing yourself, Jem, seeing the goodness, the innocence, the purity of your being, breathing into this, acknowledging this despite the hell that you went through, despite the negativity, despite the complex trauma. Complex trauma could be just a mix of different traumatic events, and it kind of overwhelms our mind. And for us to heal complex trauma, we must come into our heart and be very simple and just breathe. I love you, and it's okay. I love you, and it's okay. This is the mantra that heals so much. But we must say it from a deep place of love, a deep place of connection with our heart. So we're taking deep, full belly breaths, which is relaxing the nervous system. I love you. So that's healing that pain of unworthiness. And it's okay. It's okay. Like right here, right now, I am safe. I am okay. That's bringing you into the present moment, helping you to feel safe, helping you to feel safe and loved. And so I encourage you, Jeff, to chant this mantra, but to do it fully supported in corpse pose or shavasana, laying in bed, while you're working, while you're washing dishes at the ashram, You're loving yourself. You're looking in the mirror, you're smiling, and you're not seeing a broken man. You're seeing a holy man with a beautiful heart. Because this is your truth, my friend. This is your truth. And so, okay. All right, let's see here. A couple other questions. Okay, this question, and I apologize. I've been getting some emails from people whose names I might have trouble pronouncing here, but I'm going to try. This one's from Ivalo. Craig, I've been going through a lot the past 2 months. I just wanted to know whether I'm experiencing a kundalini awakening. I've been on the spiritual path for 3 years. I don't even consider myself spiritual. I don't do some kind of meditation early in the morning. I simply do my best being present every moment of my life. Well, that's quite a spiritual practice. Just doing your best to be present every moment of your life. That's beautiful. This is one of the ultimate practices, is to be present. The next one is to be loving and to be kind in every moment. And so this is good. Last year, I experienced something which is referred to as the dark night of the soul, where my identity became very vague, and I completely rearranged my priorities. Now I'm going through something similar. I've experienced episodes of severe depression, anxiety, and fear without any apparent reason. I feel as if I've been abandoned by God. I have severe headaches, stomach pains, pains between the eyes, like in the third eye, the back of the head. I have sleepless nights. My doctor tells me I'm completely fine, though. Yeah, and they go on and on here. What is more is I don't even feel like an ego. There are times in which I literally merge with my environment. I think this state is even called samadhi. Do you think this is a phenomena of kundalini awakening? Well, I normally refer to kundalini awakening as the energy rising up the spine. I call this spiritual awakening, but spiritual awakening and kundalini awakening, of course, are really similar and kind of mimic each other, and in a sense are the same thing, but in a different sense are really different. And so kundalini tends to be energy running up the spine, but when you're spiritually awakening, your 7 chakras tend to wake up. You start to feel different energies there, and so you are definitely having an energetic awakening. But in regards to the depression and the anxiety and being abandoned by God, sometimes that happens. Sometimes we swing from one experience of, vastness and presence and peace, to this other experience of feeling really alone and isolated, and have a dark night of the soul experience, or just feel really empty or void-like. This is common on the path. This is common in life. I mean, all of life is a spiritual path. All of life. And so the big thing, if you're really suffering, it's important to have a teacher. It's important to have some support. Oftentimes, if we're going through something difficult and the experience of awakening is very energetic, sometimes if we go on retreats and meet with a teacher, do some individual work with a teacher, it can help us to blast through so that there's more, how should I say this? So that we tend to rest more of the time in the blissful or heavenly feelings instead of the really difficult and painful feelings. If we don't have support, sometimes we can get stuck in, void-like places or depressed places, or we could forget that God loves us. Even this moment, if I feel into your consciousness and, your angels are coming forward, God's coming forward, saying, you are loved. I have not forsaken you. I have not abandoned you. So take this into your heart and let yourself be loved. Let yourself be held. Have faith in times of darkness. This is how we go forward. It's through faith. This is how we heal. Through faith. When we're having really difficult, like egoic storms, and if we don't have faith, we can really get stuck there. If you're in a relationship or a marriage, and your husband or your wife is having a really hard time, they're struggling with addiction or a new child or maybe too many children in the house or whatever it is, or a breakup or a lost job, or sometimes in life we just bite off more than we can chew. It's easy to lose faith. It's easy to fall into despair. Same is true on the spiritual path. When we start opening to something greater than ourselves, it's easy to get lost. And the egoic response to this. But we must have faith. And again, faith means we remain hopeful. We walk forward. Holding on to the Dharma. Stepping into the truth. Continuing to practice despite what's been happening in our lives. One of the most helpful things for depression and anxiety is a yoga practice. To have a very vigorous yoga practice. Sometimes a really light, gentle yoga practice is just enough, to help us heal. To help us heal. And so I encourage you. Take good care of your body. Be kind to yourself. Be gentle to yourself. Whatever's happening in your life. And get some support. Because life, it's just too hard to try to do it all by yourself. If I was left on my own and had no teacher, no counselors, no healers or support, I'd feel like lost at sea. Lost at sea. I even went in the other day. I hurt my back and just went and saw a chiropractor friend, and she was so helpful. So helpful. A couple cracks, and pretty soon I'm feeling so much better. And when the spine is aligned, when the chakras are open, when your heart is open, it feels wonderful. Wonderful. But if you're stuck in pain or struggling with pain and you're not getting support, your ego can spin some crazy stories, some really difficult stories. And you can feel really lost. So it's good to have some support here on planet Earth. Okay, here's a question from Tree. Hi, Craig. Can you talk a little bit about the chakra at the back of the base of the head? Thank you. Yeah. Tree, are you speaking about the throat chakra? So, or a smaller chakra, like one of the nadis. So the major chakra that's there. So you let me know, Tree, and I'm just going to start speaking a little bit. But the throat chakra is about expression. That's primarily what people think of the throat chakra. But if we look at it a little deeper, the throat chakra is simply a gate. It's this big doorway between the space of the mind and the space of the heart. We want that area to be open. So sometimes in the back, in the back where the primal brain is, the reptilian brain, there could be a smaller chakra center there. And it's really interesting because that chakra center, when it opens, you can feel incredible peace, like an otherworldly peace. When it's not open and it's inflamed with ego, well, I think most of us know what the reptilian mind is like. It's quite it's quite angry and violent. But if you allow yourself, yeah, tree, okay, I see. Yeah, so we're speaking about the same one. So the smaller one back there, right at the back, the base of the skull there. If you start opening to that, it could feel like walking into a cave that's so utterly peaceful, so utterly free and empty. The peace, it's like thick, it's like heavy. And so oftentimes I invite people to pull awareness back toward the back of the skull, and it helps this chakra center to open. If you allow awareness just to be like right here on the surface, you see people with that furrowed brow, they're thinking, really intensely, and it can be really painful. But if you allow awareness to step fully back, there's this supreme peace. And as I'm speaking about it now, I have to be careful because it's a little intoxicating, the peace. But why don't we all, just open to it right now? And so we're allowing awareness to fall back, right here, back to the base of the skull, back of the skull. And just taking some deep, full breaths there. And you may feel this supreme peace, emptiness, freedom. And again, it feels like walking into a cave. So utterly silent. Feels like the presence of heaven before you were born, before you incarnated. And if you notice, as you start to breathe into it, your whole body starts to deeply, deeply relax. Deeply relax. And so this is a real gift. You give yourself. Again, like this is the opposite of that reptilian brain. And if you notice, as you let go more and more here, if you travel down, you'll notice your hara chakra lighting up as well, like deep in the hara. Because it helps the whole nervous system just come and discover a profound peace. And so for some of you, it may be a grip in the hara. And when you bring awareness back here, it's like that grip just really starts to relax. And you feel the nervous system beginning to be flooded with light. And it's very, almost like cloud-like light and peace flooding the nervous system. And so I thank you, Tree, for bringing this forward. There's so many incredible realms and aspects of divinity that are within us. If you give, any of the chakras a little bit of attention, you can notice a whole new world waking up within you. A whole new world. And so, Tree, if there's anything more about your question, feel free to type it. But one of the things that I love to do is just experience our divinity directly. It's one thing for me to speak about it. But it's a whole other thing to open to it, to give yourself permission to explore what you are, to deeply explore. And so again, I encourage all of you just to let go and do this peace. You may even feel like a column of light starting to light up throughout the central nervous system, the central channel. Bringing a supreme state of relaxation over the body. And it feels radically healing. Radically healing. And just to let go into this. To let go into this. Okay, there's one more question here. Okay, Tree writes, you just had a lot of spontaneous mudras happening over this center, so it's just curious. Yeah, you may find that as you opening in this way, different mudras come forward, and just bringing your attention to another world, another realm, and so just continue opening and exploring. Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Okay, here's a question. Vedic thought says we should release attachment to all desire and aversion, that we will suffer as long as we continue to have desire and aversion. Many New Age spiritual teachers I see seem to focus more on self-love, gratitude, and positive thinking. Even some encourage desire as a form of gratitude. What are your thoughts? My ego gets confused with conflicting thoughts and teachings. So many different teachings. Also, I notice that somewhat addicted to teachings. Okay. Yeah, let me see if I can just answer this question quickly because it's getting near the end. So I want you to imagine that when the Buddha spoke about letting go of desire, he was teaching a monastic path, a path for monks. And so it was important that the monks were celibate and they stayed focused on, their dharma, their lineage. A lot of ancient traditions were based, on monastic traditions. And so being a householder, great question. Well, what does it mean to let go of desire? What I'd like to look at is, like what desire do I need to let go of? If I'm deeply attached to buying things, I have a habit of just overconsumption. I knew a woman once who spent more in a month, just shopping for clothes than I made in an entire year. She's a multi-millionaire, just would just go out, and she was just fully in desire mind, just completely lost in that help. I know a lot of young men and women who are on Tinder all day, just lost in desire mind. Swiping one way or the other, chasing this or that, and then never feeling fully gratified, fully satisfied. So it's letting go of this type of desire. But your desire for true love, should you follow this? Absolutely. Your desire for God and a more meaningful, purposeful life, should you follow this? Absolutely. If you desire greater spiritual awakening, you follow this. This is what I call inspiration. You're inspired. It's different than desire. Desire oftentimes has a negative connotation. But I just like to look at, what's necessary in my life. Am I wasting my life on frivolous desire? Or is my life, revolved around something greater, something holy, something divine? And something holy sometimes means just being patient with your children, listening to a friend speak. It doesn't have to be hanging out at a monastery or on a spiritual retreat in every moment. Sometimes living a holy life, an inspired life, means going on a hike. You live by the ocean, so going out to the ocean and seeing the beauty of God in the form of the ocean, seeing the beauty of God in the form of the big blue sky. And desire can be quite beautiful when it's the right type of desire, when it's holy desire. And so, I wouldn't encourage you to think too much about it. Just follow your heart, my friend. Follow your heart. Listen to your heart, and follow what teachings resonate deeply with you. And give yourself time just to sit with the teachings, deeply contemplate, and let go into the peace that's here. So anyways, it's been so good to be with you all. Thanks everyone for offering your donations. And if you want to join us on a retreat, please, sign up soon. We'd love to have you. And so y'all take good care, and may peace be with you. Have a wonderful night.